Hi everyone, Mercedes here from brightstarwoman.com. I am here to share a little story about what it means to be called a fat yoga teacher. So a couple of weeks ago, I had a student come up to me, and this woman was a new mom, and she was still carrying some of the baby weight, and she'd come to see me to say, it's a relief to see a teacher who isn't the stereotypical skinny. I'm a new mom. I can't seem to shed the baby weight. In the timeline, people tell me I should lose it. And I am relieved to see that it's okay to be my shape. So that comment was interesting, but also a little bit inspiring, and I'll get back to that later. But then last week, I had somebody come to see me who's a woman as well, but this time maybe a woman in her 40s, something like that. And she came up to me and she said, your class was fun and challenging. I mean, we can see you're strong, but clearly you're a chubby yoga teacher. And this time I felt pretty angry and pretty upset. I didn't tell this person off, but I did tell her my story, which I guess shed some light for her as to how inappropriate her comment had been. But here's what I learned from being called a fat yoga teacher. So after the shock of someone actually bringing up my shape and the anger I felt from the judgment that came with that, and then lastly, after I dealt with the feeling that I needed to justify myself to a complete stranger, then I was able to recognize and deal with those emotions that were triggers within me. I realized a few things that were particularly disturbing about this statement. First one being, there's still a stereotype of what a yoga teacher should be and should look like. And that's complete baloney. Yoga is for everybody, and healthy may look like many, many different things based on several factors like genetics and medical history, life circumstances, stress levels, lifestyle, like what someone does for work. And honestly, health is relative as well. And therefore, there's not a one size fits all model for what healthy looks like. Therefore, there isn't a model of what a yoga teacher should look like. Sure, there are Instagram photos that tell you what super athletic poses should look like, but that's just one very small part of what yoga is and what it's supposed to be all about, why it was created in the first place. Now, the second thing that I realized in that statement was that I wonder why people practice yoga. And so the reason why people practice yoga has become increasingly superficial. And frankly, as somebody who has been practicing yoga for over 15 years in many different respects, it's scary to me that we are practicing yoga for what seems to me like very superficial reasons. We're forgetting the roots of yoga in the first place. How has a several thousand-year-old spiritual practice of physical movements and breath that were meant to lead to meditation and personal fulfillment become a cult of physical aesthetics and feats that one can aspire to accomplish? What about the spiritual heights, the compassion that we're supposed to cultivate, the inner peace that we'd like to cultivate within ourselves, and the unbecoming of all the labels that were and the expectations that were being projected on us, right? So what I say to that is get your head out of your asana and let it sink in that yoga is not a sport. It isn't meant for performance or competition. It's a personal practice of wellness, whatever that means for you. Now, third thing that really got me going with this, being as westernized yoga is primarily taught by women, this clearly highlighted that we still need feminism and that it is not something that we've reached and can rest on our laurels about. The feminist in me felt incredibly justified to be defending the brave women who choose the industry of yoga as a profession, whether it's part-time or full-time, because we're constantly subjected to body shaming, yoga shaming, societal expectation of what we should look like based on our rather physical career choice. And I'm willing to bet that male yoga teachers aren't told, wow, you're stronger than you look because you're pretty lean for a teacher. I'd expect you to be more muscular given that you do this all the time. You're a man after all. Or that they're told, my, you're beefy for a yoga teacher. Like, I don't know any yoga teacher who's a man who's been told this, right? Those stories I've heard and that I've experienced firsthand have all happened to women. Now, before last, people don't realize the power and the pain of their words. My students don't know me that much personally. I'm fairly open about my past health challenges, but most people don't bother to take the time to ask. They assume that I just do relaxed yoga or that I overeat or maybe that I'm just genetically chubby. It's ignorant and it's short-sighted. And saying anything about anyone's body is insensitive, even if I've chosen to be a yoga teacher for a living, whether their comment is meant to be a compliment or not. Why? Because you just don't know what somebody's going through, right? I was seriously ill for 4 years. I was under a tremendous amount of work and personal stress during that time. And I have suffered 2 great losses in the span of 5 years. During the 4 years I was sick, I'd put on 60 pounds, of which I've now lost 20 on my own, out of sheer determination and patience. And the rest, I'm working towards shedding and converting to muscle for the simple benefit of being healthier. I don't have a number on a scale I want to reach. I don't have a size I want to wear, but I hired a personal trainer because I want help to get to the healthiest me, right? I didn't hire one because I wanted to look a certain way as a yoga teacher. I did so because I wanted a healthier me and I wanted to feel strong and confident again. And this comment came at a time where I only started to feel confident about my own health and having my own best interests at heart. So a comment about my shape felt like a slap in the face. Now, the last thing I'd like to say is about that first woman's comment. Of course, it's a bit misguided to talk about the stereotypical skinny, but the essence of this woman's message was clearly different. And what really inspired me and empowered me from her comment was that when she said it, I felt like, wow, here's someone who gets it, who gets the point of yoga. I felt blessed to hear that this woman was encouraged because I was being honest with myself. I was being honest with my students. I kept showing up for myself and following my dream, no matter what my outward shape may be. And somehow what she told me was that I was giving this new mom permission to be wherever she was on her health and wellness journey. And I was showing her that it was okay to be the shape she was, and that shape does truly not matter in yoga, and that I want to be the healthiest me possible. But to me, that's not a number on a scale. That's not a size of clothing. It's a feeling on the inside. I want to be healthy, strong, and fit, whatever that means for me. And honestly, that's the kind of teacher I want to be, one that inspires others to start and keep going, no matter what crappy messages they may be receiving in several directions. So, unfortunately, this woman had been told that, or shown that yoga was for skinny or tiny or muscular or slim body types, when really that's not what it's about at all. And maybe she had been doing yoga because she was hoping to lose weight, but she found acceptance. And so that's the kind of atmosphere I want to cultivate in my classes. Now, if you're doing yoga and you're not the typical slim or skinny or muscular, don't let anybody in the first row doing all kinds of handstands discourage you from practicing. And if you're a teacher and you're being called a fat yoga teacher, you know that you have to keep working and being yourself, whatever shape you are, because we need to break those stereotypes that yoga is a sport and it's about performance and being super fit, when it's really not about physical fitness, but about fitness of the spirit. So on that note, I hope this has been inspiring for you and that you will take up yoga for some of the greater inward benefit you will get. Namaste.